Hi there, everybody watching on YouTube. This is Star again from H&S Designs Now. And today I wanted to show you guys how I was going to wrap this large teardrop pendant. And as you can see, it has a holographic look and black colored resin and just holographic glitter on top. That is obviously pre-made by me. I had several and I just decided I was going to do this one. So if you're following, if you are subscribed to my channel, you've seen that I've done these before. And to be honest, Yvonne Williams got me absolutely loving this shape, and there's just so many different things you can do with it. It's a really neat shape, and it actually makes it quite easy to wrap with wire. She has done a very pretty wire wrapping. I do a little bit simpler, but this one I wanted to do a little bit differently, and I wanted to just show you guys how I do it. So since I'm using the silver holographic drop, I'm going to use silver colored wire. Okay, and of course I get my wire from Parawire. I've already got my pieces of wire already cut, and I've already used my nylon jaw pliers on them to kind of straighten them up and get them halfway decent. So those are optional if you have them and if you want to use them. The other things you will need, of course, are flush cutters to cut your wire with. You will need some kind of straight pliers, flat straight pliers. And you might need to have some kind of bent nose or something along those lines. You may also want to have on hand round nose pliers, quite possibly. And you also want something as a small round mandrel, kind of like a pen, okay? Something along those lines. And for this video, for this specific wrapping, I am going to use my steel bench block and my hammer, okay? So, you're probably like, oh my God, what are you doing? Anyway, you'll see. So, I'm going to line these up, and as you can see, they don't want to quite line up because they're not exactly straight, but that's okay. So I'm going to come in at about the middle, I say roughly, okay? You're going to keep them side by side, and then you're going to carefully go ahead and make your bail. That's what the pen is for. So I like to only do 2 wraps typically. And because this is double the wire, I'm really only going to do it that many times. I don't know why my doggone camera doesn't want to focus right. So that's all of the wraps that I'm going to do to this. So now I'm going to just cross them really well. And just like a twist tie, like you're used to normally seeing, I'm going to twist them. And that's it. That's all of the twisting that I want to do. Because now I actually want to take, I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. And here's where I'm going to take my bench block and my hammer, and I'm going to try to hammer this down pretty well flat. So for this part, I'm going to turn off the sound, and I'm going to kind of speed it up a little bit. But it'll still be on camera, and you'll still be able to see it. Okay, so I just got done doing a little bit of hammering right here. I did that for 2 different reasons. For one, it does make a nice flat surface. It keeps everything nice and tight, and it hardens up the wires. So that's a really, really good way to make sure that everything just stays just like you want it to be. So I'm just going to take out my pen. I'm going to set it aside. And now that we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and put it up. That's pretty much all I was going to use it for, at least. So now you've got your wires. And what do you want to do with them? For this, I'm going to do a little bit of wire wrapping on this. Haven't really decided yet what kind of design I want to do. I'm going to pull out about an arm span something along those lines. You pull off pretty much just however much you want. If you want to exactly measure, you know, you can. I don't. It's just me. This is the part, though, that I always have a problem with on camera. So we're going to do our best, and we're going to see how we can do. So I'm just going to do a couple of just basic coiling on it first. Okay. And I usually do like to try to keep as much of the wire as possible instead of clipping it down. That way there's not as much waste. Push it down really good and tight. And this is where you can either use your flat pliers or your bent nose, either one. It's up to you. It's whatever you have. And just get that good and tight. And I actually am going to go ahead. That's just a tiny bit. I'm just going to clip that off. That's no big deal. But you do want to make sure you get it nice and flat down against your base wires. And I did forget to say, if you didn't see, 18 gauge. And you can't see it, 26 gauge. Duh. So, I don't know how many coils I did. I just kind of did some coils. Okay, and I'm going to push that all the way up to where my wraps are. So, when you think about it, this is going to be towards the inside. So, it's going to be sitting like this. So, those are really not going to be seen, okay? So, when you make these wraps, this is going to be on this side. You got to be mindful of that and how you want it to look. So, there's a few different ways you can do this. Let's see. I think we're going to do 2. And then we're going to do probably 4. How about that? 4, yeah. 2. Oops. 3. Wire wrapping is always hard for me on camera. And 4. And then, woo, another 2 all the way around. Remember, don't pull your wrapping wire too tight. You want to make sure it's tight down, okay? Because if you pull too tight, you'll get your base wires too close together, and then you will have to unwrap, get them spaced apart properly. Yeah, it's just a big headache. And honestly, if you have a hard time with that, trust me, it takes a little while to figure that out. It took me a while. But you will get there. Practice, practice, practice is honestly just the best thing that you can do. Practice and make sure you get some good quality wires. Don't buy the cheap stuff. So I'm just doing a 2-4 wrap. You can do a 2-2 or a 2-3, or you can do the very opposite. You could do a 2-4, where you get 2 around the bottom wire and then 4 around the top, both. I don't know. But it's whatever wrapping that you want to do yourself. So yeah, pretty much. And oh, see, that's too many because I wasn't paying attention. I was talking. So you see, as I did that, you know, it kind of kinks up the wire just a little bit right there. You just take your finger, just like Yvonne Williams has said. If you haven't seen her videos, you should go watch them. She's pretty neat. And just kind of try to get it to straighten back out a little bit. Okay. And if your wires kind of get all wonky, it's okay. And if you need to kind of flare them out a little bit so you have an easier time, you definitely do that. I do that all the time. So 2, and then. So I think you have a good idea. Like I said, you do not have to do this style of wrapping. You can do, or weaving rather. You can do any other kind that you want. It's completely up to you. This is just what I've chosen to do this time. And then one thing I do go and do, and I'm just going to use my round nose plier or bent nose pliers for this, is you can go through and flatten down the sections where it was a 2-2, and that way it kind of helps reinforce it a little bit. And then you can also take them and you can squish them together if they seem to have kind of come apart a little bit. So I think I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. I'm going to do. Alright guys, I am back. As you can see, I got all of my wrapping done. I ended up counting how many wraps I had. I had exactly 16, so I did exactly 16 on the other side. I measured how many inches I had from the first double, and it was just shy of 3.5 inches. So I made the exact same measurements on the other side. I don't know how many wraps exactly that is. If you want to pause it and count, you're welcome to. I don't want to. So anyway, so as you can see, you know, we've got tails left on both sides and of both wires. So this is when you're going to come in and you're going to lay down your cabochon on top. I'm going to straighten this out just a smidget. All right. It's about as straight as it's going to get right at the moment. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get these kind of good and close together. I'm also going to kind of bend a little bit so you can see it kind of has a seat a little bit. And I'm going to put all of these wires, I'm actually going to straighten that out. There we go. All of these wires through the very center. Okay. If it'll go. There we go. There we go. So now, as Yvonne says, if this is the head and this is the body, then that's the neck. So the neck is right here, okay? And part of the reason why I wanted to hammer out this portion is because I've noticed in the previous ways that I was doing this very simple wire wrapping, where I wasn't doing necessarily all this, it was just a single piece of wire, the bail would be kind of flimsy. So without taking the wrapping wire and wrapping it around, made it sturdy, but without doing that, it just kind of was flimsy. So that was partially why I did want to hammer. I want to see how it's going to do. So now we're going to take these wires, but we should not have to do that with this, although I'm going to do something a little bit modified for that. So I'm going to go ahead, push this up, and push this up. So this part is just, it's what you want to do. It's exactly what you want to do. It's exactly how you want to do it. You know, anything. I'm just wrapping this part around, just to kind of hold and stabilize the piece with the decorative wire wrapping. And I wish I'd have thought about it. I would have wrapped this, I would have done this wrap the other way around. I wasn't thinking. If that's the look you're going for. That was the look I was going for, and I wasn't thinking right. So, okay. So now that we've got that, okay, now to get this kind of symmetrical, there we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more wrap around. Pull it good and tight. Of course, you don't have to have quite this much. This just ended up being how much I had exactly. And get this one in and through. Get it down good and tight and get that around like that. All right. So now I'm seeing I didn't quite get that quite the same as I thought that I did. So it's kind of a good thing that I've got this tail, because I can go and do just a tiny bit more. Or what you could do is you could undo some of this if you wanted to. I think really I'm just going to wrap it around really good. And probably, I think I'm going to feed some more wire in there too, to make it a little bit longer. So I'm actually going to end up undoing a little of this side so it'll match. But if you don't want to do that and you would rather have it be kind of asymmetrical, that's totally up to you. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do that and I don't mean to do that. Because it's kind of already asymmetrical enough with the way I do things. I'm very, very much not perfect at all. At all. If you watched any of my videos, you know that I mess up, and I am not afraid to let you guys see how, when, and where I mess it up. But I'm just trying to get this right here just a little bit tighter. Could stand to be a little tighter. There we go. That looks a pretty good bit better. So I'm pretty much not going to get too much more wraps out of this little tiny 1-inch piece of wire because it's so thin. But at this point, I am just going to wrap it kind of loose so that we can put more wire in there. Okay, so that is where this is going to come in. So this piece is going to lay down right there. And then you're going to feed it through and in between the wire that was just laid down. So this was not expected. I did not expect to show you guys how to do this. I'm still kind of learning this effect, this technique. So don't count me as a, as a, you know, person who knows what they're doing with this. I've tried this many times. So we're trying it together today. All right, so we're going to also squish this on down really good and tight. All right, now for cinching this down, I do like my thick bent nose pliers over my thin ones, okay? Because you want it to be good and tight down. Okay. And I'm just going to splay that out just a little bit. All right, and that kind of tightened it up really well. That took really good. All right, so for the time being, I'm actually going to splay this out just a hair more right there to get to this piece of the wire to make that cut. And then I've got to flatten it down if it shall stay still, because sometimes they don't like to do that. And I don't know why this piece right here, I don't know why it's doing that. That's what I mean by it gives me a hard time sometimes. So I'm just going to do that. There we go. And flatten that end down. And voila. There you go. You see? That's how you do it. Okay, so what we can do is, I think I'm going to cut this to about right there. Cut this, leaving a little tail, and about the same for this one. Cut this, leaving a little tail, and then about halfway or so. Hopefully I got it pretty doggone close to being symmetrical, something like that. All right, taking your round nose pliers, and now you're just going to swirl or do whatever kind of little design you may want to do with it. Okay. And then also pushing that down really good. Okay, pushing that down pretty good, and then the other side. And we still got more. This is not the end, okay? This is just the end of this part. Alright, and getting this to come in, yeah, just a little bit more. Alright, yeah, about right there. And if I can get it in my hand right, just coming through. And that actually could be just a little tighter on that coil. There we go. There we go now. There we are. All right. So there's that part done. Now the other part that I want to do is take your thick bent nose pliers, okay? And as you can see, it's kind of not hugging the back of the stone. What I like to do is take my pliers carefully. You want to press with this one. This is just kind of a stabilization, this part. But this part, you're going to press down so it hugs more closely up against your piece. Okay, so you see when it kind of did, it flattened it out a little bit. Okay, so it's hugging, and especially because this is concave right here, this will help it to sit a lot more firm. I'm going to go in and do this on the top piece. Okay, and as well as over here on the other side. Alright guys, so as I was editing the video for this, I realized that the very end of my footage was, for some reason, somehow cut off or stopped. So I decided to dub over this last little bit. As you can see, I just pulled off another little, about 12 inches of the 26 gauge wire. And I took that and I am securing the bail just a little bit. I don't really think that it needs it too much, because where I hammered it down, it worked hardened really well. It was really not wanting to move, but this just gives a little bit of extra security. And then I'm also taking more of the wrapping wire, and I'm securing down those little swirls down on the bottom, as you can see, just to kind of secure those down and to help it to not get flung out by, you know, hair or clothes. Or alright, but so anyway, I'm at the last about minute or so. I want to say thank you if you're watching this to the end. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification icon if you haven't done either of those. Visit my Etsy shop, where this is going to be on sale, along with many other items that I still have in there. And I'll put it on the video and in the description. Hope y'all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.